Welcome to the Upside Down Influencer podcast, where we talk about things we see on social media and ultimately how we, as Christ followers, can do it differently. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson, and today I'm joined by Tami Taunton. Tami is the founder and president of Hadassah's Hope, a ministry based here in Jacksonville, Florida, dedicated to reaching and restoring sexually exploited and trafficked women in the adult entertainment industry by sharing the hope and the love of Jesus. In this episode, we dive into the story behind Hadassah's Hope, how it began, and the incredible impact it's making. But this conversation goes beyond the ministry itself. Our worlds intersect in ways that you might not expect. What role does social media play in glamorizing the life of dancers? Why are more women being drawn to platforms like OnlyFans, and what are the deeper implications? What's the connection between pornography and human trafficking? And how are human traffickers using social media to exploit the vulnerable? Most importantly, we discuss how Hadassah's Hope is fighting back. I know you'll be challenged and encouraged by what she has to share, so let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Tami Taunton. Tami, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
This is actually our take two because my dog was in the room. So
real life.
We're doing our best around here to get this done, and I just appreciate you coming and us just making this happen.
Happy to be here.
Well, could you go ahead and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Hadassah's Hope and how it got started?
I'd love to. So Hadassah's Hope is a strip club ministry here in Jacksonville. We're engaging the dark with the light in 13 strip clubs here in Jacksonville, and we also reach women who sell sex online with our text outreach platform.
Yeah. Okay, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
How did you get that start? Because I feel like that's not something the typical person just stumbles into.
I will say it's all the Lord because it's completely outside my comfort zone. But it was a mission trip in 2015 that just rocked me to the core. God gave me eyes to see lost people like I had never seen before. Sharing the gospel with these people that really had a hard time even understanding what you're saying. You're sharing the gospel through a translator, but they were so open to receive Christ. And so while my entire life I grew up in the church and served in the inside of the walls of church, I knew I needed to get outside the walls of the church. The Lord just gave me this burning passion that I couldn't say no. And so I came home and began to pray and seek the Lord and what He had for me, and I knew overseas missions was not it. I wanted something local, and I came across articles on strip club ministry in other cities, and so just reaching out to them, doing my homework, driving around Jacksonville, identifying strip clubs. The Lord was just so gracious to me to just build people around me that had a heart for this type of thing, and so we just started doing it. Taking meals into strip clubs, just showing up. Started super small. We weren't a nonprofit. We were just church people going to love on the least of these, if you will. And so 2017, somebody said, you really need to make this a legit organization, become a nonprofit. I'll pay for you.
So at the time you were just doing it, but you didn't have a name. You just knew.
We were the church ladies.
God, you've put something on my heart, and I'm just going to start doing this thing.
Exactly.
Not call it anything. I'm just going to do ministry.
Just doing ministry. Just with some of my closest friends, making meals.
And what's so interesting about that is that I've seen another video of you where you had talked about how you were a pastor's wife at the time, and how interesting is it that you could technically be in church world, but not really doing like ministry. Yeah. How long from after you went on that mission trip to like when you started doing the research? How was it immediate?
It was instant. I came home, started doing it, and that mission trip was in May, and by July we were in strip clubs. Just super simple, showing up, one club at a time, one meal at a time.
You just walk in?
Just walk in. You don't ask for permission,
and so
they're going to tell you no.
They don't kick you out. Sorry, this might happen a couple of times. The helicopter tends to, the base is right there, and so it's okay, I'll just keep it. How come you're allowed to just go in? How does that work?
I think two reasons. One, we're showing up with food.
Oh,
and everybody loves a
that's
home-cooked
right.
meal, right? And two, they're so caught off guard, they don't know what to do.
Yeah, they're like,
They're
who are all these
who are
really
you? Like, what are you doing?
kind,
Yeah.
nice people
You're
walking
bringing
through
me
our door?
food, and okay. So I think they're just so in shock.
And so confused,
And
probably.
confused,
Because
and-
I would imagine, I don't just imagine because I've also been in the clubs with you. They don't get a lot of people that come in with no strings attached. They're probably not used to that.
They're not
used to that. Yeah.
No doubt. And oftentimes the
Yeah.
girls even offer to pay us. And we're like, no, this is strictly just a gift for you.
Wow.
Because, you know, everybody in their lives are takers. They automatically assume they need to pay us for the food and or we are there for an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that diffused very quickly just with consistent visits, showing up once a month, growing to where, hey, you guys make really good food. Do you think maybe you can start coming twice a month?
Ah.
And so we began twice a month. Same club. We did that for 18 months, same club. And then,
How many of you were there in the very beginning days?
Oh, there was like 10 of us.
Oh.
Not even. Like it was so small.
Well, how many of you would go in at once, like in the beginning?
3 or 4.
Okay.
But then we had the other people that were cooking.
Gotcha.
So the other people were doing the meals.
Okay.
And so super small, super skeleton crew, if you will, but consistent. The same people showing up, same time, same faces, same week.
Yeah.
And when they began to ask, would you come back another time, that, you know, I knew I had to do something greater.
Right.
Like, we got to grow this. And so I hosted an event at my house and just went on Facebook, hey guys, me and just friends are just doing this thing. I don't know what this looks like, but this is what God's calling me to do. If you're interested in, you know, partnering with us, show up at my house, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
So people came and people came and people came. It was so packed that night.
Wow.
And that is the night that Hadassah's Hope was born. You know, we were just church ladies before, and that night we started, you know, kind of forming an organization. I still didn't even know what that meant, but then somebody said, hey, I'm going to pay for you to become a nonprofit.
Wow.
And so I still didn't know what I was doing. You know?
You're like, cool,
Okay,
yeah,
I don't know what that means, but
sounds
okay.
great,
I mean, I
think.
knew the need to make it legitimate for donations, and because you quickly see all of the physical needs that need to be met before you can speak into the spiritual needs. And,
For sure.
So you do need money
Yep.
over time. And, you know, while we could help with basic, you know, diapers and wipes and food, the needs were way greater than that. And so we became a nonprofit in 2017. Hadassah's Hope, and just over the years, God has granted us, you know, people that love our ministry and come alongside. We have over 531 volunteers today.
Wow.
And actually, that's not even accurate because I've trained 12 over the last month that we're getting ready to launch and start a new club next month. I know.
That's amazing.
But God.
What's a challenge you might face on a typical night?
You know, we've really not had a lot of difficult times. There is one club in Jacksonville that we've not been able to get into for years.
Why? There's various reasons.
We can't get past the front door. But we've been multiple times, but the owner did pass away, and we recently have gotten permission that we can enter this club. So that will be one of our next clubs that we enter. But that's the most difficult time we've ever had.
Yeah.
Other than that, I feel like the word of mouth has just gotten out to the people inside the clubs, and everybody welcomes us with open arms. You know, the guys love the food that work there just as much as the girls do, and we have great relationships with them. You've seen that. The club that you were in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're back there getting a plate before you can even get the girls a plate, you know.
Yeah.
So
And just for clarity's sake, so other people know this, like, I've also been in those clubs, and I can tell you firsthand, obviously you're going there to share the love of the Lord, but it's not in the way that I think people would imagine. I think if you're going to an extreme, people might imagine, oh, you're going in there with a Bible and you're, you know what I mean? It's not like that at all. And it's really just like how her and I are hanging out right now. You're going and you're hanging out with people, people that are kind of your friends.
yeah,
And
You love them.
you love them, and you bring food and you have conversations, just ask how they're doing. And it really is no different than going and catching up with anybody else. And over time, you become friends. And obviously, at the end of the day, you would love it if they experience Christ through you. And and if they eventually come into a relationship with the Lord, and that doesn't always happen. So I would be interested in asking you that too. Give me an example of a testimony or a success story that may have occurred over the years.
One was just as recent this morning. I could share, I love telling stories, but this morning we have Encounter Bible Study, which is pretty much all women that have been in the industry. And that group is just continuing to grow. And today, one of the girls said, I think, the reason that God used y'all in my life is because you weren't like forward with the gospel. You didn't come in here and try to shove Jesus down my throat. Instead, your actions were loving and kind. You brought me a meal. You offered to pray for me. Yes. You didn't shame me. And that's our approach. And she had told us today.
And you're not going in there trying to be like, you're a sinner.
Yeah, you're a sinner.
Get your act together.
Yeah, no, because so am I. So
right.
it's like, your sin might be a little different than mine, but I'm a sinner too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she said, but because of that approach is what was so welcoming to her.
Yeah.
And not off-putting. And so she said that's honestly how the Lord began to stir in her, because she grew up with a little bit of head knowledge. She was Catholic, and she grew up with some knowledge of it, but she didn't know that Jesus died for her, for her, and that she's like, y'all made me feel seen, loved, and valued. And she was like, you gave me an interest that wanted to know more. Yes. And that's what it's about. It's that curiosity for the gospel. Why are they so kind? But why are they not shaming me? Because I think there's some legalism from way back when that I think that even girls have struggled with church hurt and they feel shame. We don't make them feel that way. It's just from their past and things they've been taught. And so we like to go in there and let them know we love them.
Yes.
Your sin is no different than mine. The consequences might be different.
Amen.
And so, but some other stories, we run into women that, it's not instantaneous. It's a whole lot of
trust
building. And so another girl that's in our Bible study, I met her on Easter last year, 2023. Pursued a relationship with her. She was part of our transformation program. She got saved, she got baptized, everything. Out of the lifestyle. She went back. To the lifestyle. I chased her down. She wasn't ready. She struggled with alcoholism, and while she had become sober for many, many months, it drew her back, and that's what drew her back to the club. It's that whole cycle of dysfunction, and then it became this wall of shame, and she was wallowing in it. And so, but recently, just power of prayer, people praying for her, our prayer partners praying for her, she showed up again. And so she's sober again, 180 days. She's actively part of Bible study. She's walking with the Lord. She was very much into the spiritual realm as far as crystals and tarot cards and, stuff like that. But she's recently come to realize just through conversations and discipleship that that's evil. And she's laid it all down. She's taken it all out of her house. She's burned it. And she's walking with the Lord. She's showing up to worship nights at church. She's going to Alabaster on Tuesday. She comes every single week to Bible study. And God's radically changed her life. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. We are her people. She has no family. We are her community.
Amen. Well, the reason I have you on today is because there are areas that I see that our worlds intersect. And something that I'm passionate about is we live in the digital age, the social media age. I do believe it can be a really great thing, and I do see an opportunity for discipleship around that. But it can also be used in awful ways, and it can be very dangerous. And I first want to say that anything that we talk about in this conversation, it's not to shame anybody. If anybody is doing any of the things that we're talking about, it's more just to get the conversation going and to bring some awareness. In the work that you're doing, there's platforms now like OnlyFans. And not even just OnlyFans. You can easily just post some suggestive images on Instagram or TikTok, however you want to use these platforms, and honestly make a lot of money. Young women are faced with this decision these days where they can go, do I really want to go to college or have another career? Why do that when I can just make lots of money on OnlyFans very quickly?
And sell feet pictures or
Yes.
basic things. It doesn't have to be nude.
No.
Yeah.
And is that something that you come across?
For sure.
What do you do about that? I mean, I'm assuming when you're like discipling somebody that's doing something like that online, that it's no different. You wouldn't treat it any differently than how you do like strip club ministry. Or do they usually, is it like both? Like they go to work here and then they also have
some
an
girls
online life?
Some girls it's both, but a lot of the women that we're reaching in the online present, we're not actually seeing their social media.
Okay.
It's because they've posted an ad for sex.
Where? What do you mean?
Mega personals, OnlyFans. They're offering sex for sale. That is the information that is fed into our database for text outreach. So we're not actually going on Instagram and engaging them. They've posted an ad selling sex in some way, shape, or form, and that data is in our system that feeds to us. That's how we reach them and engage them.
Tell me about text outreach and how that works.
So every Tuesday and Thursday, we try to reach women within a 50-mile radius of our Hope House.
Okay.
And the information is fed through our platform that we invested into, that will, anyone that has posted an ad, sex for sale in any way, shape, or form, it will feed those phone numbers to us. And then we engage them from hey, this is Hattie. We use the name Hattie. Head ass, I get it. It's cute. Hattie, hey, this is Hattie. Really, we're reaching out to you. Just want to see if you're having a good day. And sometimes it might go back and forth. They think it's a joke. They offer us their rates. They offer us their location. And then we engage them in some sort of conversation that hopefully opens up the door to have either a gospel conversation, a way to pray for them.
How do they know it's not spam?
I think they're so eager for a customer.
Oh.
No one ever asks us if it's spam. They ask if it were the police. They don't ask if it's spam.
Wow.
And yeah. And they do want the resources, so we
Yeah.
can build a relationship. The goal is for us to be able to get them into our Hope House and to be able to spend time with them. One of the girls comes to our Bible study. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I thought OnlyFans was like something that people could subscribe to and they receive like pornography from a person, but you can also post
ads.
advertisements.
Correct.
For people. I did not know that.
Correct.
What is your advice to the young woman who sees these opportunities out there, who sees possibly the opportunity to make quick, easy money?
So I have a girl that's actually doing it right now, and she's actively part of our ministry, case management, and she can sell not even necessarily nudity pictures, but she's making anywhere from $11,000 to $13,000 a month just by being on OnlyFans. And you also do build your clientele out of that as well. So there's a lot of side stuff that can be done if you're tracking with me. So it's not necessarily filtered through OnlyFans who gets fees.
Okay.
And so it was really hard to help her understand that she's basically selling her soul. And that her worth is so much more.
Yes.
And it's a journey. And we're still walking alongside of this girl. And the last couple of months, she's not been participating in it, but it's a relationship. It's all about building that relationship and that confidence and reminding her identity is in Christ and not in those pictures and not in money. And so it's a growing relationship.
If I try to place myself in the shoes of somebody else, and like if I wasn't walking with the Lord,
For sure.
and if you're a cute girl that you're like, I can make some money this way, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like, how easy is it to make that kind of money? And then
So quickly.
some people might even say, well, I'm going to make this money and then I'm going to use it
For
to
something
pay
good.
off. I'm going to go to
Student
nursing
loans
school.
or whatever,
Now,
yeah.
let me ask you that. Do you find that with this money that they actually make, that they end up paying for something good like that? How often is that the case, or does that rarely ever happen? Like, for example, somebody might say, well, I strip on the weekends and I use it to pay off school. Or do you find that that happens often, or do you find that that's actually the exception to the rule?
That's the exception to the rule. In my experience of doing this over the last 10 years, I can think of a couple girls that comes to mind. Now, the girl that was selling pictures on OnlyFans, she was paying for her to go to a trade school. So that was her, and she was trying to get out of debt.
Yeah.
So she did justify it, and she had goals. And but most oftentimes, the women that we meet in the clubs are women that are surviving.
Yeah.
They're women that aren't making a lot of money. You don't make as much money as people, nothing like that, the OnlyFans type thing. The women in the clubs, they don't make a lot of money unless they're doing illegal things. I think that's a huge misconception, that people are just raking in the dough working in a strip club.
Well, and social media doesn't help.
Yeah, it glamorizes it.
It does glamorize it. I've seen TikToks where somebody would say, I'm trying to give an example of even what they would say, but it would be like, people hate on me, but they're not paying my bills. You know what I mean? And and I get what you're saying, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cost is huge. And I hear this weekly from our Bible study and girls that come in. It's when they lay their head down at night, they're reliving the night. A girl shared with us today at Bible study that she had a gun held to her head at gunpoint in the club in a VIP room, her and another girl. And so that cost still is riddled her. She has so much PTSD from that experience. The good news is that girl got baptized Sunday at church. So.
Wait, this Sunday?
This Sunday.
Wow.
So that's exciting,
Wow.
but while that is terrible and that is awful, God used that to begin stirring something in her heart to get her out of the club, right?
Yes.
So what was meant for evil, God's using for good. And it's just
Absolutely.
a process. But I think people don't understand the dark and dirty that goes on in the strip clubs and the customers, the type of customers that come into the strip clubs. And the vulnerability, because they're trying to make ends meet, and the trauma that led them there. Nobody ever wakes up and says, I want to be a stripper.
Right.
They've had, 95% of women in the strip club have been sexually abused as children. And that seed is forever planted in them unless God saves them, right?
Yes.
And so they're constantly turning to sex type of things to find their worth. Unless God reveals that to them.
Well, when you were just talking about vulnerabilities, it got me thinking about how human trafficking is very prevalent in our society and people might not realize it. And with posting certain things, and does that attract human traffickers? And what might that look like?
Human trafficking is when you are being sold for sex or coerced into sex and the money is not your own. And in my experience, the women that we are reaching online, the majority of them are trafficked. They're under the influence of someone else. Now, there are some that are going on there quickly to post an ad to make, rent or to pay an electric bill, and they come across us. It's quite ironic because then it just gives us so much opportunity there. But oftentimes they are being controlled by someone else. And
how do you find that out?
The traffickers have tried to reach us through our hotline, so we know.
Oh. Why would they try to reach you?
To tell us to stop reaching their client, that we're messing with their business.
Oh, wow. What are some vulnerabilities, that might present themselves that a trafficker might be looking to exploit?
Well, online romance in general, if you have not met the person, they don't live in your city. If I was a parent of a teen, I would be monitoring their phones. I know that's hard to do, but that's how we protect our kids, because it is happening. They're luring them by their social media pictures, just in general, even if they're just sweet pictures. They're always trying to look online for the vulnerable population. And what that population is sometimes it's maybe a girl that's had an absent father, an absent mother. It's foster care. It is, they're struggling with things at home, school, being accepted, being loved, and they're reaching for someone. And, you know, they come across someone online that gives them a little bit of attention, and one thing leads to the other. We just walk through that locally, right? And so oftentimes the trafficker's not necessarily an online presence, it's somebody in their home.
Got you.
A lot of times it's family.
There's this conception in movies that like people just get taken and then just start getting trafficked, when really
It's 2%.
it was like a slow process of building trust and acting a lot of the times like they love you. And that's why these people don't leave, because these girls don't feel like it in the beginning that or they might not even know up for a long time that they wouldn't put the words "I am being trafficked" to what is happening
They
to
have
them.
no idea. Even years after they've been trafficked, do they fully understand that they were trafficked?
What are some other misconceptions?
I think as far as trafficking, what do you mean? Like, what are other misconceptions? Like family, for example?
Yeah.
Let's elaborate on that. We have a girl, true story, that we've been walking alongside. Her mom started trafficking her at a young age for drugs. She got pregnant at 12, was forced to get an abortion, and her story continued. She got pregnant at 16, kept that child, and she struggled with drug and alcohol abuse since then. She is 32 years old, and you know, she's been in the strip club because she's constantly seeking that validation. But ultimately, it comes from her mom trafficking her at such a young age for the profit of herself, some drugs. And she just repeated that entire cycle, but she wants out. We're helping her take those next steps to change, getting her involved in AA and building community around her, letting her know there is a way out. Because I think so oftentimes they feel trapped.
Yeah.
They feel like there is no way out, but we're giving her a hand up to help her take those next steps.
On that same train of thought, another big thing plaguing our generation is pornography. But a lot of people don't know the role that pornography plays in human trafficking. Can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, absolutely. Women that are in porn are typically under the influence of someone else. We have actually just recently walked alongside of a girl, a young girl, 21 years old. She was a porn star, beautiful girl, came to Jacksonville for safety reasons, trying to get away from the people that, her quote-unquote agents that were selling her. It was a whole thing, and she literally feared for her life, and she was over it. Physically, mentally, she was drained. We had to get her some health care, and she was traumatized. And so it wasn't anything, you know, it started off thinking she's entering into like a modeling type of thing that basically trapped her into this lifestyle. And she wanted out, and they weren't having it. And so she came here for safety. And so it's real. She didn't want anything to do with it, but yet she was trapped. Yet she was doing it. She was stuck in the cycle until she was like, enough is enough, I'm out. And her life depended on it. Like her health, she was having a lot of health problems as a result. So these women that you see on TV that look like they're having a good time, they're not. They're just trying to push through, trying to get through the day.
Man, if there's somebody watching this that maybe has considered doing pornography or taking part in that, is what you do a resource for them?
Absolutely. We'd be happy to meet with them, come sit with us. And, you know, my advice to them is stop it, like turn away from it. Spend time with us, spend time hearing testimonies of girls that have left that lifestyle and hear the damage that it did to them physically and mentally and how long it's taken them to recover. I mean, healing is possible, but it's a lot. And we've heard stories, these women are having sex 16, 17 times a day. And they're it's not pleasurable. And so I think too, for people that watch it, stop. Because go look at it through the lens of they're being paid to do this, or they're being tormented to do this. And just stop watching it. I think when you look at it with that perspective, it would change my view. That makes it gross, right? And disgusting. And I think that knowing that it's that, because I think obviously they glamorize it, they make it look like they're having a good time, but they're not. And I think when you're on this side of it and you hear the testimonies of these women that have walked that road and the amount of drugs they have to do to perform, so that they can forget, or so that they can just push through.
That's similar to how it is with
in
the
the
girls
club.
in the clubs.
It's the same. You have to be able to cope and to be able to step into those personas. You have to take drugs or drink alcohol, because you can't just do it on your own. Because you can step into a whole different personality and be this person who tries to act like she's having a good time. It's exactly same.
Yeah, it really is amazing how social media and movies and all that can glamorize these things as if these people are just in control of themselves, that this is just a way to make money, and it's not as soul level as it is. And I think what you do really brings a lot of that to light. Do you have any final encouragement or calls to action?
I mean, if you're local and you're in Jacksonville, we would absolutely love to have you part of Hadassah's Hope. You can go to hadassahshope.com and visit our website to get involved. We always need people to serve, people to pray, people to cook, people to being on the front lines, going into the clubs, and people to be participating with our text outreach. I will say that a lot of people think the text outreach can be done at home, in your own home. It is not. It is done at our Hope House. Just because you hear things, you need to be surrounded by people that are going to pray with you and help you walk through difficult conversations. It's not something you really want to do at home.
And you've mentioned the Hope House a couple of times, but could you quickly explain what the Hope House is?
I'd love to. So our Hope House is just a safe place. It's a refuge for women to drop in. It's a drop-in center. They can get groceries. They can get case management, counseling. We offer free counseling to every woman that walks through our doors, because we are firm believers that counseling is the place where healing begins. In addition to that, we have diapers, wipes, formula, community. We're doing Bible studies, opening our doors every week for Bible study, and then a transformation program, which is where we hire girls out of the club to do an internship with us to teach them how to do life through the lens of the gospel.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it is really good stuff. And you guys just got a brand new building,
We
too.
sure did.
So
We finally, yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we got a new place, and it's busy. It's so busy, and I love it.
Oh,
Filling
good.
up. I was leaving today to come here, and the parking lot was completely full.
Wow.
And that was just...
Is this one about the same size as the last one?
Oh, it's half the size.
Oh, it's smaller.
It's a lot smaller. But that's okay.
It's okay.
It's
yeah,
okay.
It's a space.
It's a space, and we're thankful for it. And
Yes.
we've made it, Hope House 2.0.
Yes.
And we're still doing ministry. And so we always need people to volunteer, pray for us, because this is what keeps us and sustains us. And that God would just continue to find favor over our ministry, because we are truly engaging darkness.
And are tickets still available for the gala?
Yes.
Just tell us about the gala.
That out. We are doing a unveiled gala. We're going to do a masquerade ball this year. We're going to have a panel of women that have been out of the lifestyle for a minute, women that are still in the lifestyle, and possibly one of our bouncers share his story, how he came to know the Lord and got baptized a couple months ago, and how the ripple effect from the women coming to know the Lord encountered his life and the encounter he had with Jesus. So it's just that little ripple effect. Girls were coming to know the Lord, they're sharing Jesus with this bouncer, and then he comes to know the Lord. And so it's just really sweet. So that's our plan. We'd love for you to be there, to be at the Church of 1122 on April the 25th. So you can go online and buy your tickets.
Well, that sounds great. I'll be there.
You better.
So yes.
She's hosting.
Yeah, just the panel. All right. Well, is there anywhere people can connect with you and find you?
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Just search Hadassah's Hope and you'll find us.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. I invite you to connect with us on our social media channels at Upside Down Influencer on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Upside Down Influencer is produced by 514 Productions, music by Jason Cooper, and website by Metal Marketing.